Good afternoon once again, televiewers of 7 News Television. We are happy because you guys are over there watching this program Experts, where a lot of things are being said in order to make you understand certain important values of the society. Today we're going to talk about ethical leadership and entrepreneurship. Ethics, it's something that starts at the top of an organization. It is a leadership issue, and each chief executive officer should know about this. Talking about the values of ethics, who and how are we going to have these values? Are we supposed to borrow the values out of country, or we are implementing the values we have in our own organization? At this point in time, we are going to know more from our invitees, who is Mr. Kenneth Tumenta, the CEO of African Business Information Bank. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
You're welcome to this program, Expert.
Thank you very much.
So, who is Mr. Kennedy Tumenta?
Well, if Mr. Kennedy Tumenta is the founder and CEO of African Business Information Bank. I have been the director of the Center for Global Ethics in Germany and a senior diaspora's executive and a researcher in the field of ethics and leadership.
We are talking today about ethical leadership and entrepreneurship. What is ethical leadership?
Well, just like the word says, ethics and leadership, they are two interrelated words.
Okay.
Let's take, for example, start with leadership. Who is a leader? And I think we cannot make a big debate on who leaders are, where they are we born leaders or we are not born leaders? But I think all of us are leaders.
Okay.
Most especially Africans. They have been leading their families, leading their lives, leading their organizations, and so on, and leading with friends in different aspects in life.
Okay.
But ethics are the fundamental values that guides the functional interrelationship between these leaders and the entity which they represent.
You are talking about ethics and leadership. So, what are the qualities or ethical qualities of a good leader?
You know, leadership is based on the foundations that we create what is called mutual interdependency. So I have to depend on you, you have to depend on me. Being a good leader, you should be able to create the foundation upon which there is mutual interest of everything that we work with.
Okay.
So if you look at that part, then it is based on what we call trust. Because I can't lead, I can't cooperate, I can't collaborate for people.
Okay.
I must collaborate with people.
Mm-hmm.
And what are the foundations for me to collaborate with people so that I can attain my personal interests and they attain their personal interests?
Right.
That is where the foundations upon which it guides us to work together is called ethics.
You are talking about trust and ethics, and here we are talking about ethical leadership and entrepreneurship. What relationship?
I think the basic issue here is that we have to look at leadership. We lead every day.
Okay.
We went to look at ethics as the foundations that governs and coordinate how we interact to lead those which we are supposed to give a direction, and also to let them lead by giving us mutual feedbacks. Now, you are moving now to a very interesting part, entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So, before we link the three, let us first ask, who is an entrepreneur? I think most researchers out there are making a fundamental error when it comes to the foundations of entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur is someone who sees problem as a challenge,
Okay.
who takes this challenge as an opportunity, who transform these opportunities into products or services, and who exchanges these products or services to have a fulfilling life. It means that for somebody to become an entrepreneur, you can be anybody.
Okay.
In political entrepreneurship, you can be a social entrepreneur, you can be a journalistic entrepreneur, you can be a religious entrepreneur. So this definition which I gave is based on one fundamental principle. I see a problem and I find a solution and I exchange these solutions to have a fulfilling life. What is not who is not an entrepreneur and what is not entrepreneurship is to confirm what we say, teach a child how to catch a fish than giving a child a fish. It is wrong.
Okay.
When we say teach a child how to catch a fish than giving a child a fish, it is wrong. Let me explain to you. Because the fundamental explanation of entrepreneurship says that if I can catch a fish, I have the fish in my hands, and I don't have a fulfilling life,
okay,
then I'm not an entrepreneur. So teach a child how to catch a fish and help the child to be able to live on this fish is what confines the new definition of entrepreneurship.
In economics, we're told that a good entrepreneur is a risk bearer. So you're talking of fulfilling life. How comes that an entrepreneur has to bear the risks?
Yes, fulfilling life is happiness.
Okay.
Let's take the educational entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Young people, their mothers are asked to take the risks, send their children to school. They graduate. Sometimes they pay a huge sum of money, 300,000, 400,000, up to $1 million. Mm-hmm. These children, the parents took the risks to send them to school. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, when they graduate, they come back home, they have no jobs, and they are still dependent on their parents. Yeah. Is that teach a child how to catch a fish? No.
Right.
We have to make sure that bearing the risks, it has to have a fulfilling life for their parents and have the fulfilling life for the person who actually went to school, has a certificate, and has a job. When you cannot convert what you have in your hands to have a fulfilling life, then it is not entrepreneurship. So it takes me now to the other part. Okay. How do you link the ethics in it? So anybody who has a school, anybody who creates a company and is not capable to make those who come into the company to live a happy life, to be able to go home at the end of the month and they are happy because they contributed for the development of the company and the company also helped them to have a fulfilling life, there's something wrong about ethics, entrepreneurship, and leadership. So now this is where the combination comes in. Right. Once people come together to carry out any venture, to do any process, any products, whether it's social, whether it's NGO or whatever, therefore everybody who comes together has something to offer and has something to benefit at the end of the day. So once they produce the cake or they solve the problem, then they must be benefited at the end.
What in a case where somebody has his money and he says, okay, I want to start up a business, and in reality the person is not having a concrete idea whether he or she is going to succeed? Is that an entrepreneur?
Well, an entrepreneur is not just a definition, okay, it's a process. Yeah. I might have the money,
okay,
and I keep the money in the bank, mm-hmm, and I don't do anything with it. So I only save my money and I get it. I can be a financial entrepreneur. But if I want to be a productive entrepreneur, I can have my money, mm-hmm, I don't have the idea, somebody has the idea,
yeah,
and he doesn't have the money, somebody has the ability to work and to do the job, and he doesn't have the idea, he doesn't have the money. Therefore, is there entrepreneurship? There is zero entrepreneurship. Okay. Now, the process of linking these three people together is a process that we call entrepreneurship. But at the end of the day, if the three guys do not produce, do not create value, it is still not ethically responsible entrepreneurial coming together or venture. Therefore, win-win. Self-interest is a foundation for ethics and morality. So my idea of ethics and leadership shouldn't be like you create a company because you have a money and you employ people and you tell them, oh, it's my company, it's my money, and you do everything I want. It will not work, not in the 21st century.
All right.
And because these guys, they are also having a value, an asset, which is their know-how, which they know, and they want to have an environment which is conducive for them so that they can put it. And that's where the fundamentally ethical part comes in. He who doesn't create an environment, a responsible environment where people can work with them, you find that people come in and they go out because people are looking not just for money, they are looking for the environment, they are looking for the responsible environment for them to bring their ideas, to wake up very early in the morning, happily work, and make sure that at the end of the month, if there is money or if there is something to come to them, they get it.
Talking about ethical leadership, many values concerning ethics has been learned. Can you please tell us what are the values or ethical values of a society?
Well, the ethical values of a society are the commonly acceptable norms that everybody living in that society accept that is doable.
Okay.
So if you have a situation where we are all agreed that to kill somebody, to tell lies is bad, it's an ethical value.
Okay.
But now, to make it a generally acceptable values and ethics, it shouldn't be at the expense of the third person.
Okay.
So both of us cannot accept that, for both of us, that killing people is legitimate, but it is not ethical because it concerns other people.
All right.
So our self-interest should not be at the expense of a third party, because everything we do today has a consequences of the type of things we can do tomorrow. So if I treat you bad today, if I meet you again tomorrow, the way we shall interact is different than we met before. So everything I do today has consequences tomorrow. So some of the ethical values which we have, I mean, I don't want to go too far. It is the fundamental one, which is the golden rule.
Okay.
Treat your neighbor as you want them to treat you. So no, love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Yeah.
It is the same principles in Islam, brotherly love,
Okay.
in Buddhism, self-love. So that's the trick in it, because when Jesus was asked, so what is the greatest commandment? It's too much, it's many values. What should we keep and what should we take? Jesus said, you should love your neighbor as you love yourself. You understand?
Yeah.
So now let's bring it now into our context. If I can treat you the way I want to be treated, and you treat me the way I want to be treated, there is a value which is acceptable. But let's borrow it now to our African context.
Okay. Let's go back to the African context.
Yes.
You want us to talk about that?
Yes.
And you're talking of ethical values. Don't you think the environment in which you live might determine whether your values are ethical or not?
That's very important. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I will convert what Jesus said into economics. Jesus said, "Love your neighbor as you want, as you love yourself." The other part is that do unto others as you want
Others to do unto
you. In economics, he said, I have to create the condition favorable so that I can interact with people to deal with me the way I want to deal with them. Are you understanding it?
I'm getting
So
it.
if I have a company, if I have an organization, I have a family where I do not create the environment where all of us should find the mutual place to work together. Therefore, it is not unethical people.
Okay.
So what you said is very important. This is where the difference in ethical leadership in the 21st century comes in. In the 16th century, following Aristotle, it was based ethical values, and Immanuel Kant was based on the ethics is you as a person. But now we have discovered, like you said, is that I can live in an environment. For example, there is a project that we want to get, and everybody is corrupt.
Yeah.
And if I don't pay for if I don't also pay for the investment to get the work, and somebody else get it, am I an unethical person, or the other person is an immoral person? No.
Okay.
The issue is that I need to create the environment that is favorable for all of us, so that we have the level playing field. Okay. And now it takes us to our African context and football.
Okay.
The best way to see how ethics work and the environment, as you say, is in football. Football has the rule that all of us has to, there are certain rules of the game, how to play football. You don't touch the ball with the hands if you touch the ball, and so on. There's upside rules and so on. Not so?
Yeah.
But now they have a referee that makes sure that if somebody who goes against the rule, he has to be punished. Somebody who respects the rule and play according to the game, then he has to be rewarded. The environment is not the individual. They didn't go to every players and say, no, you as a player, you have to be ethical, you need to have values. And no, it didn't. You have to have values to play football. They said, no, these are the rules of the game, and we make sure that we have what is called fair rules of the game, respected by everybody. And we bring out the referees to make sure that even though they are the rules, but we have to make sure that they monitor that everybody respect the rules. So now the environment and individual has to be separated in questioning ethical behavior.
Okay.
So I cannot have a company that we allow people to, some few people should have the possibility to bring projects into the company, and they have percentage. And I do not have the capacity, I do not have the ability, and I do not have the facilities to bring the project in the money projects to the company. And at the end of the month, of course, those who are beneficial, those who have the added advantage, they will benefit and I will not benefit. So the problem which we have now, it is the environment. So we have to make sure that the environment, the institutions, the rules has to be favorable for everybody.
You are talking about environments. What roles do you think should be put in place in order to make this environment conducive for everyone who is doing business or an entrepreneur?
The first thing we have to understand is that everybody is sitting in the same boat.
Okay.
Whether you are the owner of the company, whether you are the employee, whether you are the lawmakers, we are all sitting in the same boat. Because let's just connect the boat. You know, if I have a company, at the end of the month, my employee, we do not make sure that we raise revenue for the company. One thing happens, I will not be able to pay my employees.
Okay.
Once my employees are not paid, they will not be able to pay some of the taxes they could pay to the government. Once taxes and the company cannot pay the employee or pay taxes to the government does not have tax to be able to make sure it carries out his government expenditure.
Yeah.
Once the government's taxes are not done, then you have what is called social unrest.
Right.
So one of the fundamental issues here is that we have to understand that all of us, whether you're the government, whether you're the company, whether you are a mayor, workers in the company, or anybody in the society, we are all sitting in the same boat. And we have to make sure that the rules and regulation kept for the functioning of our small company, our environment, let's say the communities up to the government are fair. Otherwise, we have to look for somebody to pay for our inefficiency. Okay,
Mr. Kenneth, I'll come back to you. Televiewers, at this point in time, we are going to follow a report made by Amang Tepono talking about how communication companies went in disarray or disagreement with Camtel. Amang Tepono.
C'est une affaire qui, pour le commun des Camerounais, n'en était pas une. Du moins, c'est ce que l'entreprise de téléphonie mobile Orange Cameroun a voulu faire croire à ses clients. On a parlé de fibre optique coupée et des solutions qui allaient très vite arriver. Finalement, face à l'inquiétude sans cesse croissante des consommateurs et une rumeur qui affirmait que Camtel avait suspendu la liaison Orange, l'entreprise française a vite fait de publier une mise au point, sa mise au point. Il en ressort que Camtel a agi dans l'illégalité et en même temps abusé de sa position dominante sur la fibre optique.
Beaucoup de sociétés, vous voyez le secteur bancaire, tout le secteur bancaire, vous avez le secteur bancaire, le secteur d'assurance, toutes les autres grosses sociétés, que ce soit les sociétés pétrolières et tout, elles sont tous connectées par fibre optique. Parce qu'elles doivent faire des échanges de données. Elles doivent pouvoir faire leurs échanges de données et le support qu'il leur faut, c'est la fibre optique.
Du côté de la Cameroun Telecommunication, on est pourtant clair. Orange serait un mauvais client, un client qui oublierait très souvent de payer ses factures. Et en termes de factures, l'entreprise camerounaise demande un peu moins de 2 milliards de francs CFA à l'opérateur français. Et pour bien montrer qu'il ne s'agit en aucun cas de chantage, l'entreprise managée par Kotoiman a sorti la note qu'elle avait envoyée à la direction générale de Orange, menaçant de reprendre son entière liberté d'action sur son patrimoine si Orange ne payait pas sous huitaine la somme d'1,650 milliard de francs CFA. La note datait du 16 septembre 2017. Visiblement, les deux parties n'ont toujours pas réussi à s'entendre, avec la conséquence que désormais tout le monde sait.
Thanks Amang Tepono for that wonderful report. Televiewers, if you're just switching on your television, this is Experts. The topic of the day is ethical leadership and entrepreneurship. We know the trouble that Orange had with Camtel Company because of unpaid bills. With us at the studio we have Mr. Kennedy Tumenta, a CEO of the African Business Information Bank. He's going to tell us more about ethical values and entrepreneurship. Mr. Kennedy, you just followed that report. We are talking about ethical values and entrepreneurship. From the reports, what do you think went wrong between Camtel and Orange concerning the multi-pay bid?
This is a very important issue that is destroying entrepreneurship in Africa.
Okay.
Because as we said at the beginning, we have to understand that entrepreneurships and entrepreneurs and leadership, or entrepreneurs, we are all in the same boat.
Yeah.
And so if you imagine one company makes income, collects the money, doesn't pay the other company, there is no fair rules of the game.
Okay.
Because the one company has efficiency in improving its services, especially when they are in the same domain.
Mm-hmm.
So now I can actually strategically keep the money, do not pay you, reduce the quality of your services, and you cannot pay your employees, they become disgruntled, and what happened at the other hand is that you have to lay off some of your employees.
Mm-hmm.
So what didn't go right in this example is that Camtel, I say once more, demonstrated their right to protect the integrity and interest of the Cameroonian government and Cameroonian citizens,
right,
which is to be like a facilitation to provide certain services to all type of partners,
okay,
domestic and not domestic. But at a certain point of time, they made it clear that once certain companies are being favored and the domestic clients of Camtel do not have the services because the finances are not there, it is unethical.
Okay.
Camtel vis-a-vis its consumers are not doing their job.
Okay.
So they might be doing great jobs to provide to multinational great services, but once the multinationals are not paying their bills in time, mm-hmm, responsibly, which we do not understand why, because as everything states, Orange has never brought it to the notions of the authorities that they are short of liquidity problems.
Okay.
So on the other hand, Camtel is losing most of its customers in a very tight competitive market without providing good services, as you could know. But they have been doing a lot to make sure they improve and so on. So what happens here is about putting the rules, sticking to the rules, and giving no open end. So once we say, if my bills are not paid at the end of the month, 5 days grace period. Once there is grace period is over, once the grace periods are over, I cut.
Okay.
Once you do that, people will be able to adjust, because we are hunger very early in the morning. We go to bed, we are very hungry. We don't have food.
Okay.
But somebody wake up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. to prepare us bread. And once we sleep and we get up, this person serve us bread, baguette, croissants, and everything. The baker, he doesn't do it because he like us. Because we give him money and he give us bread.
Right,
so that's the foundations here. I mean, we shouldn't take it emotionally or nationalistic. It is just the principle. I provide service to you. If you like my service, you pay me, so I can provide my services. So I think the example, it shows an example of not keeping promises. Ethics is about giving promises and keeping promises. Once you give promises and you don't keep them, you break a fundamental ethical principle.
So, what are ethical skills?
You know, ethical skills are fundamental to everybody. Mm-hmm. You need to have a good and honest heart. You need to have what I call argumentative competence.
All right.
Meaning that I need to know how to argue and to show the inconsistency of our agreement. I need to have contractual competence.
All right.
I need to know how to make arrangement and agreement with people. I cannot go to an agreement with you and I accept this agreement when I know that on one hand it disfavors me. I need to have communicative competence. I can see something that are going wrong, but I don't know how to communicate it. I can communicate panics. And I need to have what is called justification competent. What does that mean? You know, by the fact I can see hunger, many children being having hungry, they are hungry, mm-hmm, but I don't have food to give to them. But I can pass a justification and say, give food to people to eat. It is a human right to give food to everybody. That is a nice thing, but it's a justification error, because it is a fanatism to say everybody should give food to everybody, so who works for the next people? So I need to understand that there are some conditions that makes these people to be to have hunger. So I need to first of all give them food as an emergency package, but I also need to change the conditions so that they can earn food for themselves. Otherwise, I will make them to become dependent on me to give them food, So it's very important that there are ethical competencies, they are breaking down in the above explanation which I gave. You need communication competency, you need justification competency, you need analytical competencies, as well as you need contractual competence. How do I make agreement? Because the only time I can say it is unethical is when both of us agree we are going to do this and we came to this agreement, and at the end of the day, the only reference point, I cannot say you are a bad person. I can say you did not keep to our engagement, and it's unethical because with your full state of mind and with your competence, you say, yes, this is what we should do. But there is no reason why you shouldn't do it. So if you cannot do it because of external forces, you need to explain that it's because of that reason. But if I intentionally do not keep to that promises, I'm breaking an ethical agreement which we created.
You are talking of contractual ethics, which is a skill. What will happen in a situation whereby both of you agreed about something, doing a business, and when the business is being done, another person decides to enjoy the profit alone? What type of
it's very important.
Is that?
I mean, first of all, the mutual interdependency must be created. Getting in a joint ventures, you always have to make sure that if something happens, both of you lose.
Okay.
Don't get into an agreement that you only speak about what we are going to benefit. We don't talk about how we share the losses. So the first thing is to know how to share the losses, and then you say, in case of losses, this is how it happened.
Yeah.
But in a good ethical arrangement, that's why I say contractual arrangement, and you have to make sure that your partner benefits and also loses when losses comes in, and you also. A good example of ethical contract. You know, you fall in love with a lady and you say you guys have your honeymoon, you want to get married. The law comes to you and say, no. You have to make your acte de mariage, not so, which is a contract, it's an agreement. And in this agreement, it tells you, it states in the agreement what to benefit, what to lose, and in any eventuality.
Yeah.
But why didn't they say, no, they are in love, ils sont amoureux, or whatever they say in French, and they should allow them, that love should guide them. So now that's where a contractual agreement is put on the ground and saying, in case that you guys doesn't like each other, in case of that, and this is what is going to happen. So in situation where somebody wants to get the benefit alone, it means that the contractual competence, the agreement which we did, was not binding or was not made in such a way that there are verification mechanism on the way, so that by the time he steals, it will not be for him alone, but you are also supposed to know how to determine. That takes me to the framework of an ethical contract. We need to.
Okay, Mr. Kennedy, permit me, we'll come back to that.
Yes.
You sound very interesting in your arguments. Viewers of 7 News Television, Tirieba was present when the Minister of Post and Telecommunication showed how she was not happy with the issue of MTN and Orange services were not provided. The customers were angry about this because the 3 and 4G network was not enjoyed by Cameroonians. Tirieba.
La récente sortie médiatique du ministre en charge des postes et télécommunications le 27 octobre 2017 dans la ville de Yaoundé affiche clairement l'incapacité, voire le manque de sérieux avec lequel le gouvernement de Paul Biya aborde généralement ces questions qui touchent à la vie des populations. Preuve de cette impréparation, voire immaturation qui entoure la réalisation de bon nombre de projets qui engagent la vie de la nation.
Ce audit, qui est le tout premier effectué dans notre pays depuis la libéralisation du secteur des communications électroniques a pour vocation d'être didactique. Pour remédier à cette situation qui constitue un frein à la pénétration du mobile et à l'accès aux larges bandes pour tous les citoyens, des mesures correctives obligatoires ont été prescrites à chacun des opérateurs avec des délais bien précis.
Surprenant donc pour un ministre de tutelle qui arrive tout de même au bout du compte d'un réel constat du non-respect des engagements dans la fourniture de la 3 et la 4G par des compagnies à qui ce même département ministériel avait pourtant en grand pompe procédé le 11 mars 2015 au renouvellement et à l'attribution des licences d'exploitation de la 3 et la 4G à hauteur de 150 milliards de francs aux deux opérateurs traditionnels que sont Orange et MTN, et dont l'effectivité qui jusqu'ici relève de l'archimère, comme le confirme le résultat de l'audit réceptionné par le même Mimpostel.
De manière synthétique, les grandes lacunes constatées sont les suivantes. L'insuffisance des investissements par rapport à l'accroissement du nombre des abonnés. Ensuite, des lacunes techniques au niveau du réglage des équipements, non-respect des normes internationales et du paramétrage de certains équipements de réseau. Et enfin, le dimensionnement des réseaux est non optimisé.
Une réelle fuite en avant de Mme Minette Libom Liliking qui jette là la patate chaude au régulateur ART, lui-même placé pourtant sous sa tutelle, aux grandes dames du consommateur qui depuis de longtemps paye le lourd tribut d'un service jamais fourni.
Thanks, Tereba, for that report. I hope with the coming out of the Minister of Post and Telecommunication, MTN and Orange will do everything possible to make their customers enjoy the 4G and 3G network. Mr. Kennedy Tumenta, he just followed that report. At that point in time, where a company or two companies promised providing 3 and 4G networks to their citizens or their customers, but it wasn't provided. Is that ethical or not?
This is very, very unethical, and there is what we call the corporate social responsibility of a company.
Okay.
You know, the company itself, with its entity, has its responsibility to meet its engagement. Everything they promise, they have to fulfill these promises. And once a company has a trademark as great as what we saw in the portrait, it means that they have to make sure that they have to keep to their promises. And it is disgusting, and it's only sometimes in many African countries that such things can be accepted, because it's actually unethical, and it is being called upon, especially for the leaders of this company, to make sure that such things should not be tolerated. Because on one side, this is not just uncompetitive, it's a monopolistic structure. You tell lies and everybody believes that that's what you're giving them, and you go behind, you earn benefit of what you do not provide. And I think that the minister was really I could say soft a little bit, because these are criminal charges. Because, you know, ethics also goes with criminal offense.
Okay.
Because once you promise people, imagine that people are paying for 4Gs, and they do not know that they don't know that they don't know that they don't know that they are earning 3Gs.
Okay.
And this company are earning rent from what they are not reaping. Why another company is there saying that we are on 3Gs, and they still, we are the number one in 3G or whatever they're saying, and they provide this 3G. It means that the license to operate for this company and the rules of the game is being robbed. Yeah. And this is why such companies should be branded, and that's why their corporate image, I don't know why consumers should believe what they say. And in the real competitive economy, these companies will face a lot of challenges when the consumers are enlightened.
Okay, let me find out from you, why is it important for a leader to have ethical values?
Because it is beneficial for you.
How beneficial?
Because when you keep to your promises, people respect you. When you tell people that you are going to be on time, you are going to deliver them this value, and they believe that it is you provide it to them. Don't you think that you would like to work with people that keep their promises? Don't you like to work with people that you can rely on them? Don't you think that you would like to work with people that they provide you the things they say they will do, they do it, and sometimes they do it more than you expect? So those are the fundamental qualities of an ethical leader. Ethics doesn't mean it must be painful.
All right.
That's not true. Ethics is beneficial. Ethics, for us to succeed, we need values, trust. You cannot work without a trust. Imagine somebody tells you, the doctor, you are going, the doctor says he has to operate you. You have to be sure that the certificate that was handed over to this medical doctor is trustworthy, not so?
Yeah.
Imagine that you are living in an environment where you don't even trust all the certificate. Will you be able to allow him to operate you?
No.
So exactly, that's where ethics itself, it is not something punishable. It's reward. It's so nice to know that I am the one. Like your program at this moment. When people know that at this time, when they go in, they get the best quality of analysis, don't you think they will go back there?
Sure.
So it is beneficial for you because you keep to your promises, and because you keep to your promises, many people come to you. So people should not see ethics as something you have to avoid. But on the contrary, now I come. Once some people are keeping to the rules of the game, they are working under ethical conditions, and others are corrupt. Others are working under monopolistic conditions. They are changing the rules. That is where we have a problem.
Okay.
Because the people who are morally good, they are being punished. And that is where the government, the civil society, the media comes in to show that this arrangement we did is good, but not for everybody, because some people are not keeping to that. And that example we just watched from the minister actually explained it. Because the arrangement that everybody has to play, if you give 4G, you deliver 4G, you give 3G, you deliver 3G. That rules of the game was not clear. NGOs and Consumers Protection Organization, they proved that it was not true. So now the government comes in now to readjust the rules so everybody plays according to the rules.
In a situation whereby companies in Cameroon, we are talking about leadership, ethical leadership and entrepreneurship. Many companies in Cameroon think their employees are beggars, but yet they provide quality services to these companies. When it comes to benefits, their employees or their workers hardly get them.
I think this is a very traditional notions of leadership, and unfortunately most of these leaders that are having challenges, they want to compensate the challenge of poor managerial skills with employee disgruntledness.
Okay.
Because there is no way you could have productive employee and then the employee sees that the rewards and the benefits are entering the company, and there is no way you can explain to this employee that they are not working very hard. The reason is because most of the leaders on the other part, accounting, manager, financial investment, it takes bad managerial decisions, financial investment, lavish investment, and so on, that are not beneficial for the company. And at the end of the day, once you look at the balance sheet, you see that the expenditure of the company is so high, and then the income of the company, even though it was high, but it's not relatively to the expenditure. And what do? You tend to punish poor employees that work hard. But today, on the 21st century, these employees are very smart. There are people who have companies that they don't pay employees, but they treat employees very well. And these employees are very happy to wake up every day, go to this place, work, get out, and at the end of the day, whatever benefit that they comes in, they are very happy. But gone are the days when somebody has money in his company and he feels that he can treat employees, drag them from left to right, and do not allow the employee to contribute for the betterment of the company. So those days are forgone. So what managers should do is that they should go back to the drawing board, look at the business model, discuss with the employee, because the employees know where to reduce cost and where to increase revenue. Make sure that there is a level playing field. He who works hard gets a reward. He who doesn't work hard gets some training or gets out of the company. because we are running, because on ethical and entrepreneurial skills, we are running many companies in Cameroon to ruin. We are having a lot of companies that are not efficient. Family or not family companies, privately owned or not privately owned, families or NGOs, associations, they are not making the type of revenue and benefits and profits they are supposed to make. And the reason is based on the interrelationship between their leadership skills, then the ethics, which says that if I work, I eat, and then the employees, who says that if I also contribute my things, I want a benefit out of it. So we need to make sure that these three things has to work together.
If I can get from you, that is to say that the employers ought to motivate their workers, right?
You see, if you don't motivate your workers, of course, it's 1 + 1 must be 2. The best entrepreneur and ethical leadership is seen in the buy and sell. The guys know that if he buys things very expensive, he goes to the market, he will not sell very well. So he makes sure he treats the suppliers very well. They sell good products to them. They take to the market, and then they treat the customers very well. They sells good products to the customers, and the customer comes back. Therefore, the employees, for their benefit, the employers as well as the owners of the company, they have to make sure that you have leaders that get the best employees to work for their company, that increase the revenue and the income of their company, and everybody is happy.
You are talking of many African companies or Cameroonian companies very soon will go out of business. So what do you think, or why do you think such things will happen?
Yeah, the issue is that if you look at it, 200 or 100 most successful African companies, ask how many Cameroonian companies are on the top in the past 15 years. Look at it. The issue is not that we do not have a good environment. Cameroonians are very smart, very intelligent. But now we have to understand that in the 21st century, there are new ways of management. Cameroonians are liberal. Cameroonians want to be treated using what is called the Ubuntunomics principle, meaning that I am because you are because I am. You can only succeed if I succeed, and I will succeed if all of us succeed. But once you get a Cameroonian, and the Cameroonian feels that he is not part of it, he starts thinking of where he is going to create his own. That is why we see the number of companies being opened and they died. It's because everybody wants to become independent. We don't have the skills to bring the right people together, keep them together, produce national sustainable companies. That is why I say that we need to go back, re-engineer our companies, make sure that we should work on highly efficient levels so that we can conquer the Central African regions. Why not the whole African continent, and confront the war? We can do that.
Yeah, we can do that. Don't you think some people might quit a company because of ill treatment by their bosses? Of
course, it's just normal. I mean, if you are not treated well anywhere, you don't stay there. Look, everybody works in a company because they follow the principle, do unto others what you want them to do to you. It's a fundamental ethical value. Create the condition so that I can work well with you. If you don't create that condition, I will go. And this is what is happening with many companies. And we hear this every time. Most of the CEOs, when they come to our consulting and advice, they tell us that these guys have been working with me for more than 5 years, and you cannot imagine, he just found a job somewhere and just left. I said, yes. If you created a conditions there in your company where he thinks that I can work in your company for 15, 30, 40 years. We don't have any more in Cameroon those type of company where people could work for 20 years, 25 years. We don't have any more. So we need to create this environment where people feel it is part of me. What about giving them shares, co-ownership? What about giving these people partly that they should own their company? Nobody wants to work for a company just like a workers. We should need to make sure that they can own part of that company.
Okay, televiewers, Christian Esimi followed up what happened in Yaoundé 6, where the mayor and his team went down the streets to mark some houses due destruction. Christian Esimi.
Pas si sûr que les populations du 6e arrondissement de Yaoundé aient accueilli avec enthousiasme la visite des autorités de cette municipalité ce 30 octobre 2017, venu leur annoncer des casses et autres destructions de leurs avoirs sur ce site qu'on dit dangereux pour l'habitat.
Il y a environ 3 semaines, la commune a été sérieusement endeuillée à cause d'un éboulement de terrain dans une zone à risque. Il était donc normal que la commune prenne des dispositions pour prévenir ces catastrophes. Et c'est dans cet ordre d'esprit que le maire de la commune d'arrondissement de Yaoundé 6 m'a instruit de conduire une mission sur le terrain qui consiste d'abord à procéder à l'inventaire des marécages.
Encore dans leur mémoire donc, les agissements grotesques d'un certain Jack Bauer de la communauté urbaine de Yaoundé qui les a terrorisés durant de longs mois par des activités similaires. Sauf que lui, Gilbert Timievuna, est assis là aujourd'hui par la force d'un décret, contrairement à M. Yoki Onana, qui tient son pouvoir de cette population. Prendra-t-il donc le risque de se rendre impopulaire par ses actions? Nul ne sait rien. Reste qu'au fond, la même question d'hier s'oppose encore aujourd'hui. Une fois ces populations chassées, cassées et déguerpies, que va faire la mairie de Yaoundé 6 de ces espaces? A-t-elle les moyens nécessaires pour y investir, donner de la profondeur à cette action qui en soi ne serait pas totalement à jeter? À ce jour, personne ne semble encore véritablement fixé à ce sujet.
Le problème est très sérieux et je crois que la commune a saisi le taureau par les cornes et attend. Nous allons essayer, autant que faire se peut, de réduire cette occupation sauvage des marécages pour que on ne soit plus à se plaindre.
Le passé renseigne à suffisance sur le caractère révoltant de ces actions qui ont été menées autrefois dans cette même capitale et dont tout le monde connaît les résultats. À Yoki Onana donc de savoir se démarquer et prendre date avec l'histoire de sa municipalité. Son avenir politique en dépend aussi, fortement d'ailleurs.
Thanks Christian Isimi for that report. It is really pathetic to see that the inhabitants of Yaoundé 6 ought to go through such pains when their houses are marked for destruction. The question many people are asking, is that the solution to the problem? Viewers, if you are just tuning in, you are watching your program Experts with the team Ethical Leadership and Entrepreneurship. Mr. Kennedy Tumenta, we are drawing close to the end of this program. That is a report you just watched. Is it correct for the government to do such a thing in order to put the population or the inhabitants in perpetual suffering?
You know, Mr. Bisson, calling to pass an ethical judgment of a process that has been devastating for many years is very difficult.
Okay.
You know, it's very difficult to say, is it good or bad?
Okay.
The question is that, how come about that people were allowed in certain circumstances to build their livelihood in a certain area when we knew it was illegal to build in those areas?
Right.
Who are those who benefited along the way?
Right.
How come about, where was the council and others that they built the houses, they stayed there and they created their livelihood there? Where were they? That they just come now and get them out? That's the fundamental issues about ethical leadership. And you see here the perfect example. If you don't do it right today, it will get you tomorrow.
Okay.
At 3 levels. Those who came in, they didn't know that whatever corrupt or whatever thing they do, it will get them tomorrow. Maybe the others who did it at the beginning, they left already. Now the next person will come, but there is always the consequences at the end. And that is why those are the mairie that were there before, that allowed these people to be there. They didn't do their job in time. It has now brought them to a situation that somebody has to take a solution. Allow them and encourage others, destroy them and break down the livelihood of others. So that's the more fundamental challenge. What I want you to, for us to know about this situation is that ethical leadership is an advantage for us.
Okay.
You cannot build a society, you cannot build a community on lies.
Okay.
Therefore, I think that if companies, if families, if administrations, if governments tend to teach, and that is one of the things we don't do, teach people on ethics, leadership, and economics and entrepreneurship. Therefore, we can build sustainable companies and communities.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Kennedy Tumenta, for coming.
You're welcome, sir.
Viewers of 7 News Television, we have come to the end of this program, but I will not say bye without appreciating the technical supports of Ano Eyenga, Heve Ubele, Stefan Mbala, and the only lady who has the name of a soup, Otas Obono, and Roland Amana as well. Terin Damba, you are not forgotten. Masak Kwakam, the chief of the cameramen, I salute you. Not to forget Brice Gozok and Alice, as well as Jordan, the graphist. Keep on watching 7 News Television. Your program, Club Elite Plus, is on its way coming. Thanks very much for watching 7 News.